This is Ethan Cavello here with artist Andre Chaney. Andre, what do you want the people to know about yourself, like just in general?
Um, Half man, half amazing. It's that simple.
All right. so, so you work as a city employee for Philadelphia, right? And an artist, a muralist, an illustrator, right?
uh,
How do you think that those things influence each other, or vice versa?
that's a great question. So I was recently on a meeting where I was actually talking about the merge or the merging of those two things, because I do think like when a lot of people meet me, they're like, "How do you do both?" or "Why do you do both?" And so I always had this love or this affinity for community engagement and community outreach since I was young. My mom, she was somebody who was really paramount in the community. Like she did a lot with the kids and she did a lot with like adults as well, but she was always interested in helping people. So she wanted to be the block captain so she could help people get resources. She wanted to work with the kids so that they could have an outlet or somewhere to go or something to do. So she was my like beacon. She was my example of that. So as I got older, I became somebody who was very involved in the community as well, helping out a lot of my neighbors, helping out a lot of like staying after school for nothing whatsoever, but just to be helpful. And always just coming up with something that I could do to make sure that me and my friends were out of trouble, and also so that we were serving the community. So like we would go out shovel snow for free, we would cut grass for free and things like that, because we were just looking to be helpful. So as I got older and as I got more older, um, it just became a part of who I was. And I got my first opportunity to kind of be employed doing it when I worked for this organization called Power Interfaith, and it was a canvassing organization. But every opportunity that I ever got, honestly, came by way of art, because the person who referred me to the job said that I can get a show with the Black History Museum. I'm at the African American Museum, and so I was like, okay, I'll take the job. And what I was doing at the time was canvassing, and that means going door to door, checking in with the folks, just trying to check on their well-being, seeing what resources they may be in need of, referring them to specialists within the city to try to help them get connected to benefits. And so I was doing that for quite some time, and I fell in love with it, and it kept me involved with the community. So that's my like really important to me, like always being involved in some way, shape, or form. And so like the canvassing and the outreach and things like that kept me involved, and I could see some of the real issues that were going on in real time. People were struggling behind closed doors, and it's like if you just stay in your world and you think that what happens in your world is the only thing occurring, but people are also experiencing things and they're in need of help. So it's like, how do you use your gift to be of service and help others? So that's kind of how the art merges with that, because I'm able to be easily accessible, but I'm also able to understand what people are going through because I'm like literally with them every day, and then I'm able to put that into the artwork that I do. So I've always loved art since I was a kid. My mom, she was the number one, not she was the number one like cheerleader for me. Like go out, do that, do exactly what you love to do. And I always tell this story about how she got me more into art, but I'll get to that later. But basically, she would always tell me that I needed to make sure that I was capturing the essence of the neighborhood or capturing the essence of myself in the work. And so I was always focused on that. So she kind of got me started with storytelling very easily. So all I'm doing is going out into the community and telling stories, and then I'm merging them together to tell the overall story in the murals and the children's books and the illustrations and things like that. So that's kind of how they work together.
So you feel like your art is your way of kind of giving back or representing the Philly like community.
Absolutely. I think that when you get a voice, it's important that you try to amplify other people's voices, especially because if people aren't heard, then their needs aren't met. And it's a lot of people with a lot of needs. So with what I'm able to do, I'm just able to speak to some of the things that they want. I'm not at all trying to be their spokesperson, because I want to be able to give them a platform to do that for themselves. Because you give somebody the opportunity to tell you what they need, they'll tell you. They can plan for themselves. They can let you know what they need. They don't need somebody coming into their neighborhood or their home and saying, this is what I think you need. They need someone to give them the platform so that they can state, this is what I need. So yeah, it's just literally me saying, okay, I understand this is what you need. How do I shed light on, this issue, this situation, and then be able to provide you with a voice necessary to get it to a much larger audience. So I'm just kind of using my platform to do that for other people.
So who influences you? And this could be like artist, musician, just people in general.
That's a great question. Anybody who's truly authentically themselves influenced me a lot. And reason being is because being authentic, like I always use this example, like everybody's trying to be the next like big thing. So you have people who are in line to try to be Kendrick, Drake, whoever the star is, you have people lining up to be that. And what I always say is, you're not, if you're trying to be someone else, you can't be them. And the reason is because you don't have access to the things they have access to. People fell in love with that person because they were them to get them there in the first place. So if you model yourself after someone, what you're really doing is being the second runner up to what they're trying to be, because they have access to much more than you do. They have access to many more people than you do. And just by their own means of resources, you can never be them at that level. So if you say, for instance, try to be like Drake, I mean, Drake has access to a lot of stuff that just naturally, you being where you are, you probably can't get. So you're being the next best thing. And then someone's trying to be like you, they're being the next best thing, the next best thing. And it's so diluted and watered down to the point where nobody's looking for the 38th star. They're looking for that one. And when you're genuinely, authentically yourself, it's never been seen before. So people will love and gravitate to you for that thing that you possess. So anybody who's truly them, I'm very much influenced by, because it's so hard to be you in a world of people who are trying to be like everyone else. It's like, what's the next trend? What's the next popular person or thing? People go right after that. But for the people to go the opposite direction against the current, to say, no, I'm going to, chart my own path. I'm like, I love that. So I'm very influenced by musicians like Michael Jackson, definitely Kendrick Lamar. I'm influenced by certain like movies from like my like childhood, like The Iron Giant. I was just talking in another like video, like I love Monsters Inc. Like those things that put me in a very nostalgic place, very inspired and influenced by that too. Because for somebody to have an idea in their head and to be able to put it on paper or put it on music or whatever the case, it's like you did something that was so special with all of the hindrances and things like that in your way, and you said, I'm going to do it anyway. So that's very powerful. So my mom was one of those folks. Definitely Kadir Nelson, Candy Wiley, Kara Walker was definitely one of those individuals as well. Frida Kahlo. A lot of artists like that who kind of charted their way in their own thing. Vashti Harrison, who's a children's book illustrator and author, who's doing some amazing things. Like, I'm really inspired by her as well.
That's dope. Okay. So, what's like your favorite item that you keep on your desk? Or, I don't know. That was one of the questions I had. I don't know if you have any stuff in here. But, like, what's like a thing in this room that feels like represents you the most when you could pick, any amount of things or anything?
That's a great question, because we actually in the, like, process of revamping the whole thing. So on my desk, there used to be a lot of, like, action figures, and there used to be a lot of, like, toys and stuff like that. And as you get older, society will tell you got to do away with those things. And so for me, it's like those are the things that keep me connected to source, which is like the most authentic and most innocent part of myself. The stuff I grew up on loving, like Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, all of the animes and things like that, Attack on Titan, Adventure Time, Amazing World of Gumball. All of those different things are relics that connect me to a past version of myself that knew that in my heart I wanted to do art, because I'm watching all of these amazing shows. I'm looking at the animation, the graphics, the illustration, and I'm just like, how does someone create this? And not only create this image, but create a timeline, a story to go along with it, like Harry Potter. Yeah. The fact that was even thought of, like to conceptualize your own world and to really make a sequence of things happen to get to that point, create characters to go along with it. I'm just like, I used to love these things as a child. So I keep relics like toys, action figures and stuff like that on my desk and around the studio as well, so that I'm always reminded of that time when I once aspired to do the things that I watched on TV that I really loved. So those would be the most important things to me.
So do you ever feel like sometimes you have like too many ideas, like you're fighting, your ideas are fighting each other for which ones to be on the page?
Absolutely, like all the time. Like currently I'm in the middle of like writing a book, but then it's like, what book should come first? Because there's so many different ideas and you have to think about which one resonates the most with you where you currently are. You have to think about like, as far as putting it out, because you want it to reach the people that it's supposed to reach. And it's like, is it the right time for it? Do you feel like you're equipped to do it? And then when you think of something else, it's like, is this a better idea? Like the last idea was great, but is this a better idea? And it's just these constant thoughts of like, I should do that, but let me shelf that, let me table that. I'll come back to that, which can kind of hold up the process. Like when my mom, unfortunately, she passed away, I had an idea for a book for her, but then another idea came, and I'm like, do I merge both or do I keep them separate? I had a whole concept with children's books that was going to be a series that was centered around like core values and stuff like that that I've been sitting on for years. And I'm like, if I did that, I think it would be great. But then how do you execute it? Do you go with an independent publishing house or do you go with a major publishing house? Just all these questions that kind of stagnate the process. So yeah, I absolutely sit there with many thoughts in my head about what I should do and where I should go, and then wind up doing sometimes none of it. Just going in a totally different direction.
So if you have a lot of ideas sometimes, and sometimes you have to, is it hard to let some go? Because if you have to combine a lot of things. That's what you're talking about. So is it hard? Like, do you ever let some go if you think it's a good idea, but you just don't have room to make it cohesive?
I've definitely let some concepts go for sure. I think it hurts to do it because everything that you create is like, it's like your baby. It's like, this is something that I really want to work on. And I think that by working on it, I could do a lot of healing or I could have a lot of impact with it. I just don't know how to get there yet. And sometimes that may take some research, that may take some introspection, that may take some looking at the world differently, asking yourself what medium do you want to use to get your message across. You may not even be there. That may take you going back and studying a whole different medium to be able to say, this is what I think will get this message across the most. So I've definitely had to scrap a lot of things, but for the most part, I like to look at it like just putting it on the shelf and coming back to it later, dusting it off and saying, because most times, honestly, like if you're working on a piece, right, and you're so into the piece, you are your worst critic. Like you're your hardest critic. So a lot of times you're looking at things that if you bring somebody else in and you ask their opinion, they'll love it. But for you, you know every detail and every flaw because you know exactly what you want it to look like. And with that, sometimes when you step away from something, my teacher in college taught me this. He said that if you step away from something or come back to it the next day, you'll have a whole different outlook on it because that moment where you're in it, you're so hard on it, you spent so much time on it, you know where you want it to be, and then you come back and you're like, oh, that actually wasn't that bad. So I've tried to practice the art of stepping away more and just coming back to it, returning to it and saying, you know what, it's not as bad as I thought. Let me keep refining it. So I just like to look at it like I'm just taking a pause from it because I'm being too hard on myself. I'll come back to it, and with that, hopefully we can see this whole process through.
So do you think if somebody were to misinterpret your work, like say you make something for a specific reason, and they, understand it differently, how do you feel about that? Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing. I think that as artists, we all have an idea that we want to get across. But I think that's, even though we're the authors, they say that once you put something out for public perception, then you can no longer decide how they'll take it. And I think that's really important because I wouldn't want to take away someone's autonomy or their thought process by saying this is exactly what you're supposed to get from this. Now we want to evoke emotions and we want to evoke certain, feelings from folks when they see the piece. But as far as what they take from it, sitting back and saying, you know what, this makes me or this resonates with me this way, I think that's perfectly for them. It's supposed to be like a conversation or an experience with the viewer and the piece. And I don't want to get in between that. I just want to create the work. Of course, I have high hopes of what I want them to take from it. But at the end of the day, the reason I created is for my experience alone. And everybody's experience with life and things that have led them up to the moment to seeing the piece is completely different from mine. So they're ultimately going to take something else. We may have similarities in our journey that may make you resonate with the ways I would have hoped you would have resonated with it. But ultimately, if you get something entirely, I think that's the beauty because that's a conversation. Why do you see that? And then from there, you can build upon something that's probably more special than what you intended just by hearing what somebody else took away from it. So you may get, I wanted people to feel what I felt at this moment when this traumatic thing happened, but how I healed from it. And then someone else may say, oh, I think this is a love story. And you're like, well, where did you get that from? And then you can have that conversation. And I think dialogue is ultimately one of the main keys that you want people to get from your piece is to have a conversation about it, to get some things stirred up, some emotions, to evoke some thoughts. So I don't feel any type of way. I think that, like I said, we have hopes, but I don't feel any type of way.
Yeah, because that's like how people get inspired. If you have a concrete vision and you make everybody else feel that same way, then
Right.
nothing else is gonna happen. And
Right.
that's how the new wave of artists happens because people look up to people like you, and they interpret your work their way.
Exactly. And that's how a lot of movements have happened.
Yeah.
Like you get the impressionistic movement out of something else, or like you have a time period where everything is super realistic. And then people get tired of that. So they create their own thing. And it's like, okay, well, we're going to create this movement over here where, it's more abstract and things like that. And you have people, it starts a whole conversation because you have the people of the old school looking at the new school like, well, we don't accept that, and then you have the new people like, nah, this is what we're moving towards because it's been so much of this thing. So that's how whole movements are born out of, like you said, conversations, people looking at something and being inspired, and then saying, well, I want to add my own spin on it. Because they say even the way good artists are made is like you borrow, like you look at something else and then you look at as many artists as you can that you're inspired by, and then you take from them, but you don't take their whole style, like you don't recreate what they did. You just borrow the things that you like from them ultimately to create your own style. So I agree 100%.
Yeah, it's like I saw this in an Andre 3000 interview. I think he said that, like, if the old people or the old generation or whatever you're doing, they don't like not like it,
Right.
then you're doing something wrong, because you're not challenging anybody.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point. Good point.
So what, like, while you're working on a piece or something, what would you say is like vital, like you need to have, like music or food or some whatever like that?
I gotta have, because I worked on pieces and starved. Like I've been on some, because when you in that mode, sometimes you're not even thinking. You just in that, it's that like space of you and source, or space of you and just creativity. So like a lot of times those like body functions that you would normally attend to, you're not even thinking about. Like you may have to go to the bathroom, you like, I'm just so into this, I got to get this detail right, that you just sitting there, and then eventually you'll get up and go. But like while you're in it, you just don't think about it. So food, water, I would say one thing I definitely need is like entertainment. As far as like I gotta have a podcast on, or I gotta have like somebody playing the game. Like I love like video gamers on YouTube, especially when they're playing a game that I love since childhood. So like a lot of my inspiration, motivation, a lot of my like what keeps me going, energy comes from like really getting a good laugh out of somebody enjoying something. And like it also makes it feel like someone else is in the space with you, enjoying something they love to do. So I'm just sitting back and I may be watching, like I love Berleezy. Like he's a YouTuber who's been playing games on YouTube for like years. And I actually for the first time went to like, he has this big ball once a year. And I went last year, it was, oh man, best time of my life. But just, listening to him as I'm creating while he's also doing the thing he loves to do that brings him joy, makes me be able to stay in my process a lot longer. So I need like something to be on in the background. Definitely some music too. So like sometimes people are like, why do you have like so many things going on at one time? Don't you like get overstimulated? And I'm like, nah, I gotta listen to music because I love to sing too. So I'm just sitting there rewinding the same song over and over again, singing, listening to these tunes and things like that, while also having to like entertainment on in the background. So yeah, that's something I need. Absolutely. I can't just sit in a quiet space with my thoughts and just be creating.
Yeah, it's like because when you have something else on that inspires you in general, you have something to feed off of while you're there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I agree. Do you feel the same way?
I feel the same way. I always have music. Probably too loud for my mom.
Yeah.
But so you said you like to sing. Do you ever think about like putting out music?
I used to. I used to have this one friend, to this day, will ask me when the mixtape coming out. And I'd be like, I don't know what to tell you. Like but yeah, I actually put out some songs. When I was in college, I put out like 3 or 4 songs because I rapped too. So I was like poetic and just, it was a dope time. But yeah, put out music, but I always had this thing of like putting out a good mixtape or even an album of just singing, collaborating with my sister who also sings. I got a best friend, his name is Nas, he raps too. So we made a song together, we dropped it, we was rapping together.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like, so I don't even know where that song is. Like, he may have it on his laptop. But yeah, I always wanted to drop an album because it's just another way to express yourself. Like the songs I was writing were very introspective, very thought-provoking, and they spoke to what I was going through currently. So a lot of the things that I do, like even when I had a YouTube channel and I was creating, was like trying to provide inspiration and hope and introspection on what I'm going through and how I'm trying to get through it. So I noticed that every method that I use is that, like, how do I get over this obstacle? How do I get through it? What did I employ to get through it? What method and things like that. So I'll learn a different medium just to try to get my message across if it's necessary.
Yo, you should do that this year. I would
Yeah.
listen. I would listen. Um,
But maybe I should. I definitely. One thing I'll do too, and I used to do this all the time. It's like I'll put on an instrumental, and I'll just rap for hours, like
yeah.
hours,
That's what I think Common said that he does that sometimes. He's driving, he just puts something on and raps for just
hours. I'll be mad sometimes because I'm not as good as I used to be, but I still can rhyme a little word here and there,
that's
a
crazy.
little something, something.
That's crazy. All right. Is there anything else you want to tell the people? Anything coming up?
Um, Anything coming up? So I have this idea, and I've shared it with a few folks just to like put it out there, and it just came to me. But it's a children's book, and the story behind it I think is so potent that I'm really excited about what I think this book can do and what I believe it will do. Because it's really about shifting the perspective of what the world may put on you to what it is that you see in yourself, and then utilizing those things that you may get shunned about. But utilize, because most times the things that you get shunned about is a gift of yours, or it's like your personality. It's what makes you you, and like someone else it may be an irritant, or someone else it may you just aren't in the right rooms for people to appreciate that thing about you. So with this story that I'm working on, I think that it'll really help a lot of people out, and it also touch a lot of people, and I think it'll allow a lot of people to look within and say, no, that thing that I may not like about myself is probably my best trait, or the thing that I should be loving on a lot more. So that's something I'm working on. I cannot wait to get it to the point where I can speak more about it. But that's like my main focus this year. I focused on a lot these last couple of years, a lot of projects and things. Hopefully this year I'll be able to go to Italy in the summertime and do a mural out there and do some collaboration. But right now, that's kind of one of the only things I'm looking forward to, because the book is like my main focus right now. So I'm really excited about that. And if I was to leave viewers with anything, um, my mom used to always tell me, or when I was young, she got me a sketchbook. And what I would do is, in the sketchbook, I would just draw something really fast. And because I was like looking for validation, I would just hurry up, bring it to her and be like, Mom, look what I did. Like, look. And she would look back at me and she would like smile so proudly. And she would say, son, I think this is dope. And she would push me and encourage me to do more. So she would say, son, take this back. Next time, why don't you think about adding some color to it? And when you're young, you just want praise. That's it. You don't want any like feedback. But reluctantly, I took her feedback. Next time I came back, I added color to the drawing, and I'll show her again. Mom, look, like I added some color just like you told me to. And then she would say like, proudly again, oh, that's dope, son. I'm glad to see you doing what you love to do. Next time, why don't you add a background to it or something? And then again, it's like, here you go telling me to do something else. Okay, so then take it back, come back, color, picture, background, everything. And this one time she was like, this is all nice, and I think that you created a really beautiful picture, but what does it mean to you? And so when she said that, I hadn't thought about that. Like at the time, I was only focused on creating like beautiful works, or like maybe mimicking something I saw from like one of my favorite artists, Stan Lee, Bruce Timm. So it made me start thinking more critically. And from there, instead of just like thinking about how I could recreate something, that's when I start, like I said earlier, started trying to implement storytelling, or creating a much larger picture with the thought behind it of what does this mean, or what do I intend for it to mean. So if I was to leave anyone with anyone, I would ask people to think critically about the things that they are making. It's very nice to create beautiful pictures. That's dope. Like, as you should, because that's just refining your craft. And without doing that, you can't, how do you call yourself a great artist? But I think that it also is important, even if you go back to the caves of Lascaux, like millennia ago, like some of the first iterations of art that we have discovered as a civilization, people were storytelling. And, you have scribes who, like, through their art are able to depict what was going on during that time. And you got to utilize your gift in order to get your voice out there. You got to amplify it, because I said this in something recently. I said, if you, like, for instance, if you're a public speaker and you go out and you have a sea of people, if your goal is to reach every single person in that sea, you failed. But if you go out there and you intend to touch the people that your message is supposed to touch, you've succeeded. And the reason being is because everybody's not going to agree with you, but you will have those select few who will carry that message on. And also, with that message, they'll be able to spread it to the people that they trust, making your message more widespread. So it's very important for you to, one, be authentic, two, for you to push yourself, three, for you to think more critically about what you're creating so that you can reach those folks who need to take what you're doing to the next level within themselves as well. So that's something I will leave folks with. Just like think critically, be encouraged, and to continue, doing what it is that they feel like they're supposed to do, even in times where you feel like it's not working out. Because usually it's this one meme where it's these two like gold miners and then they're digging for this gold and one is like right there, but he turned around and the other one is right there and you don't know whether or not he's gonna make that final swing or he's gonna turn around. So I would say like when you're just about to give up is when you're right there, and that's when you should keep digging because you're gonna reap all the benefits of all the work that you put in. You just got to keep going for it. So that's what I would say. Something that I think is was it paramount and impactful for me. So I would leave it for others too.
All right. Well, thank you for sitting down with me.
Absolutely. This is Ethan's first interview.
This is
so
my
like,
first interview.
First
so
interview.
It's not very good. Nobody's gonna be
gonna-
watching this. There's gonna be 3 people on my Instagram. But
Many of people who are going to see all of the good work that Ethan is going to do. It's very important to say that this is the first because I just looked outside. It's this teleprompter. It's at 555. I believe in angel numbers, and like I think this is divine because I don't know, like Ethan, he's a go-getter, somebody who's really inspiring as well, also an artist. So just because this is your first, other people may not do this, but I'm gonna give it up to you. I think this is a dope idea.
Thank you.
And I think that wherever you want to take this is exactly where it's gonna go. Like absolutely. So congrats to you too. This is dope. This is dope. People don't think about this. They like I'm gonna just go to school. It's like it's so much more out there. So I'm proud. I think this is dope. Absolutely.
All right. Cool. Yo. That's great.
Ethan, that was dope. That was dope.
Do you guys really have a song?
Hold on, I'm not on that.
That's crazy.
Let
That's
me
so
see.
crazy.
Let me see.
You gotta put that out. You do.
Hold on, let me call.
I would listen to that. Everybody would listen to that.
Yo, bro. You our first question. How many songs did we do together that we actually recorded?
We only did 2 songs.
2? Do you still have them?
I think I can find that the very first song we ever did. But that other one, no, I long to forgotten.
I'm sitting here with Ethan. I'm telling him like, yo, we recorded a couple songs together. He's like, we gotta drop them. Yo.
If I find it, I'll send it to you.
All right, bet. All right, love you, bro.
Like you tell you gonna send something.